Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Katie Weaver Show. This is Katie. I am your host, and I'm so happy to be here. If you are listening live, it is the 21st of April. It is noon. No, it's noon my time. It's 11 a.m. Pacific time. Get this straight. I hope you guys are having a good day. I want to let you know that I am live streaming this event. I'm live streaming it from Katie Weaver Domestic Mystic here on Facebook. I'm going to share a link into the chat room so that you guys can join me there if you would rather. But of course, you can listen on all of our streams as well. So lots of ways to connect. Oh my gosh, I have so much to share with you guys today. I will tell you this, it is going to be a show about mediumship. And so that's the direction we're going, but I would be more than happy to answer questions on other subjects as well. So don't think that you're locked in there. You aren't necessarily. If you head over to our chat room, which is over, if you go to 12radio.com, that's number 2radio.com, and click on the chat button, you'll be redirected into our Facebook chat, and our producer Scott is standing by, and he'll gladly let you in the room. You'll see my banner here at the top of the page. That's where other people are posting. That's where I'll be primarily going to answer your questions and things like that. So this is what is going on. Okay, so I've got you guys started here. I know you guys are having a hard time listening. My best advice for you is to go to Live 365. That is our carrier. That is absolutely the most reliable way to listen to the show. And so the Live 365 app is a really useful way to go if you've been struggling at all with hearing. It sounds like some of our streams might have been struggling a little bit this morning. So unfortunately, most of that is totally out of our hands, but Live 365, they are, if we're on there. So one little bit of advice. Okay, let's see. So again, we are going to talk about mediumship today, but we will definitely hit other topics as well. I do want to do a little sound therapy today with you guys also. And I'd also just like to check in with you. How is everybody doing? You hanging in there? You have any needs? Any triumphs? What's going on? I know everybody's in their own place with this wild time here on planet Earth, and some people are maybe doing a little better than others, and then again, maybe not. But everybody has their own challenges right now, and I think we can be extremely sensitive to that. So I want to share a few things that are going on that I'm hoping will, that I'm excited about. First of all, I started something new this week. I did, over on my YouTube channel, I did scopes, and my YouTube is Domestic Mystic, and I did a 5-minute reading for every sign for the week. I pulled cards. It was based on wisdom and warnings for the week. You can find that over on YouTube. I'm going to put a link in the chat room as well to my YouTube channel, which is Domestic Mystic, but you can find that anytime. But I would love it if you guys would watch your scope, and I would really appreciate your feedback since this is a brand new endeavor for me. I'd love to know if it is helpful for you guys or if it isn't, or, all that good stuff. It's nice to know what people are looking for so that we can, do our best to adapt and provide that. So let me know. All righty. So I did put that link in. Also on my podcast with Christy this week, we talked about, we're still working on the Vallow case, and I promise we have some other stuff coming. As you guys know, I've been talking about this for a while. This is the case of the missing children in my town. And as you know, this case is a very deep rabbit hole. There are a billion different moving parts in it. And for that reason, we have done a few additions now to get through all of the different parts of it. So you can find that over on YouTube or on any podcast forum that you listen to for True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. That's how to find it. I put a link in the chat room as well. But we talked about this week, we talked about the beliefs behind the behavior. Some of the insight that Christy and I have being former Mormons ourselves and kind of understanding that culture a little bit, and what is and what isn't actually Mormonism that these two are practicing and what they're doing. So hopefully it gives you guys some insight into the mindset of Lori Vallow and of Chad Daybell, her husband, that maybe will help you understand a little bit more about this case. So that's what we covered this week. It is another deep dive. And there was more evidence released this week as well that we talked about that is pretty fascinating. So there you go. Okay. Well, I am glad to be here. I did have an opportunity this weekend to go to the mountains and get around a campfire. My sister's family went camping, and we decided that we could go sit around their campfire with them and still social distance and, stay a ways away, which we did, and it worked out really well. But it was really nice to get out, and definitely nice to get into the mountains where we could get some fresh air and get out of this house, because I'll tell you what, we've had enough of each other. There's no major conflicts going on, but the four of us, we've had enough of our faces. So it was really nice to go do something. It does look like the world is going to start grinding into action in one capacity or another here in the next couple of weeks. You may believe with that. You may not believe in that. I don't know what to say. I know that for me personally, there will still be a lot of steps taken to protect my health for a good long time to come. And that's what we all need to do right now, and take good care of ourselves. And at this point, I think it's sad but true that we also really aren't going to be able to expect anyone else to do that for us, because they're not going to. So it's on you, it's on me, and we'll be okay. But that's what's going on. Elizabeth says she has the same giant mug. Yep, I have two of these. They're Pioneer Woman mugs, as Elizabeth knows. I absolutely love Pioneer Woman kitchen stuff. I have her plates. I have several other, like her crock, mixing bowls. I have a whole bunch of her stuff because I love it. Someday my entire kitchen will be Pioneer Woman, by God. All right, well, let's get into a few things. I would like to bring your attention to Luminous Magazine, first and foremost. So I'm going to put a link in the chat room, but you can also just find it by heading over to katie-weaver.com and follow along with me there. There's a few things I wanted to bring your attention to today. I called the magazine this week Perfectly Imperfect, or Imperfectly Perfect, because I think that's kind of where we all are right now, right? We are weird. We're out of sorts. We're doing our best. So many people have found themselves in roles that they didn't expect. Like if you're a homeschooling parent right now, you're doing the best you can. I know that. If you have become someone who works from home or someone who doesn't work, I know that is a huge change, and you're doing the best you can. I think we have to be careful right now not to hold ourselves to too high of a standard, or our young people, because honestly, this has been an enormous trauma for kids and for college students and for young people whose lives just got thrown off track. And I think that we all need to be careful that we're very sensitive to that and to the needs of others right now, even though they may not exactly, be the needs of our own. Okay, a couple of fun things in Luminous this week. We have a brand new contributor, and it is Miss Caroline Nettle. She is bringing to us a brand new column called Caroline's Column, and she's got all kinds of fun stuff. She's on page 22. She brought just not just an article, but a video to us this week, and it's awesome. So please make sure you check that out. My article this week was a little bit about mediumship. I'm offering a class tomorrow at at 1-2 Academy, that is a peek into the spirit world. This is something, I haven't done this with a big group in quite a while, but it's a really useful group. So there is some energy practices that we'll go through first, and then a very carefully crafted meditation to help you to enter a space where you can have some connection to the spirit world so that you can communicate with those on the other side for a moment. This is such a good opportunity if there's someone that you've really been missing or thinking about, or just really would love to feel their energy and their love for a while. This is a really good practice for that. It's also a really good one if you have some mediumship skills or have kind of felt like that's something that you wanted to explore. This is something that I'm really excited to bring you guys to. If this is something you want to try and you don't think you have any mediumship skills, that's okay. You don't really have to. You can be just as successful with this group without feeling like you are a born medium or anything like that. Because, spoiler alert, everyone has some mediumship skills. So don't worry about it. Just show up. So you can find that over at 12academy.com and you can register there. I did put a link in the chat rooms as well. I also had provided you in my column there in Luminous a 50% off coupon. Or if you can't find the coupon, just shoot me a message and I'll help you. But I would love to be able to get everybody there. So if you want to use the coupon, please do. That's what it's there for. So also that class, it is on Wednesday at 3:00 tomorrow, but as always, it is a video class and it will be recorded. So if you can't come live, that's totally fine. I will send you the recording later in the evening and you can do it anytime. Also, because I am sending you the video, you can do this multiple times and use it as a tool to help you in developing your own mediumship skills. So I'm excited about it. I hope it's something that's useful for you guys. So come and play with us. It's going to be a good group. Okay. Kai's Kaleidoscope this week is all about impatience. I loved what she had to say. I found myself there, ridiculously impatient sometimes. I'm sure we all have found ourselves there, but she's offered so much good wisdom right now during quarantine. Last week, her article was so profound about grief. This week, about impatience. Definitely things we can all consider and maybe work on a little in ourselves. So thank you, Kai, so much for that. There's so much more. I shared my tip of the week this week was about grief. Just a thought about grief that comes up from time to time with clients that have felt quite abandoned by people that love them and just haven't really maybe known what to do or say. And the thought is that grief goes on and on, long after the last flower has been thrown away. Be the friend that offers support in the days, weeks, and years to come. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be real about death. The most helpful friends you may have when you go through a big loss are the ones who aren't afraid to talk about it, who aren't weirded out by death, who aren't afraid of having real conversations, and that is something you can offer to other people. And it's something that if you're going through grief, to seek out for yourself. There's no crime in discussing it. And bringing up somebody's life experience, bringing up that person, it doesn't make them sadder. It doesn't make things worse. It actually, a lot of times, is useful in people recognizing that they have somebody in their corner, and that they have somebody that also misses that person and is thinking about them. So as we know people right now and otherwise that are going through loss and grief, don't be afraid of it and don't be afraid to talk about it. You'd be surprised how much that help means to somebody, and it goes a long way. It really does. Okay. Lots more good stuff in Luminous. I think those are the only things I wanted to call your attention to today, but definitely zip through there and read the articles if you feel compelled to, and take a look. Oh, I did want to point out that Kelly McLean has started bringing bitch scopes to us over at 12listen.com on a weekly basis. They've been monthly for quite a while. They are now weekly, and they're totally awesome. So make sure you check them out. I read through all of the weeklies, and I laughed my head off. She's got a gift, this girl, with words, right? So I hope you guys have an opportunity to read your scopes as well. All righty. Well, enough about that. Let's get back to, I'm going to jump in the chat room here really quick, and then we'll keep on going. And again, if you're not in the chat, I'm looking at the chat for the live stream too, so I'm keeping an eye on both. But the 12 Radio chat can be found at 12radio.com. Clicking on the chat button will get you there. So just FYI. Okay. All righty. Well, I'm glad to see you guys here as well. Oh, Maureen said she also loves Pioneer Woman stuff. I mean, who doesn't, right? It's so good. You know what I did, though? I had a set of her melamine mixing bowls. They have lids that fit really tight. They're awesome, like for picnics and all kinds of things like that. But I ended up using them for another project, an art project. I know, I'm my own worst enemy. And now I really need a new set because I can't give those up now. They're full of things that are sealed in there that, why do I do these things? Because they were awesome bowls and they work well. But anyway, so I've got to get a new set of her melamine bowls. But these were last season, so they were like so last season. And her new ones are so cool. So, you know, someday I'll get to go back to the store. I have been in quarantine for 5 weeks now, you guys. 5 weeks. I have been on multiple car rides, and I've been to the softball fields with my daughter a few times, just with my family to help her practice. That's about it. No stores for this guy. Sat around a campfire a couple of times, and that is it. So, and it's okay. I found myself yesterday thinking about, it was grocery day, and I made a list, and Scott went out to do the shopping because he's our tribute shopper right now. And I was thinking about how much I actually do not miss Walmart. Not at all. And I know some of you guys probably boycott Walmart. I know a lot of people do just because of their the way they treat their employees. And I get it totally, except for that I live in an itty bitty town that has a Walmart. Like, we don't have much of a choice unless you want to drive to another town. So unfortunately, Walmart it is a lot of the time. But damn, I'm not missing Walmart. But poor Scott. He's our tribute shopper, so he's getting too much of Walmart. Well, he's actually not, because quarantine's done some interesting things for all of us, right? One interesting thing at my house is that we had obviously gotten way too comfortable with just jaunting off to Albertsons or Walmart whenever we needed something and not really consciously shopping. And so now we have set a goal that we're only going to go to the store once a week. And I know some of you guys are amazing. You go like every 3 weeks, but that's because we eat keto and practically everything we eat is fresh. I just can't pull it off. Once a week is doing it. But anyway, so on a weekly basis, we make the list. We think of a menu, the things people want or need around here, and we do our shopping. And I cannot believe how much money we have saved by not flitting off to Walmart every 5 minutes. It has blown me away. Frankly, when quarantine ends, that is not going to end at my house. I've been kind of shocked by how much probably frivolous spending we were doing, honestly, just by looking through it now and recognizing, not just at Walmart, but just in general, that, wow, we were not budgeting or really paying decent enough attention, because holy moly, these one-time trips to the store have, well, been pretty amazing. So anyway, maybe one nice little thing that's come from all of the staying home routine, but yep. Sid wants to know, do mediumship skills work for animal contact too? Yes, ma'am, they sure do. Okay. I want to do a little bit of vibrational therapy today. I think everybody could use it. So I brought this guy. This is my biggest, oldest singing bowl. It's technically a sacral chakra bowl, but we're going to use it for a little bit different therapy today. I'm going to play the bowl here in a minute. And while I do, I'm just going to ask you guys to allow the frequency of the singing bowl to just vibrate all the way through your system. Just releasing anything that you don't need, releasing energy that maybe even isn't even yours, tension, stress, worry, any spent energy that you don't need anymore. We're just going to let the singing bowl release it from your whole body. So I will play the bowl. You guys just close your eyes, relax, and just allow that frequency to just move all the way through you. Okay, and then we'll do a energy raising activity, but the first key, of course, always is to clear some things out. So here we go. Deep breath here. Okay. So now we're going to change gears a little bit, and I'm going to play the bowl. And this time, I want you to allow yourself to start emanating light. So first and foremost, close your eyes here with me, or keep them closed if you were already there. And I want you to envision a bright white light emanating from your heart, getting brighter and brighter. I am going to energize that with the singing bowl. I would like you to let that light continue to emanate from your heart until it has completely encircled you first. And now, encircling your home, just letting that light expand, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now your community. And now the world. Your light from your heart surrounding the planet. Good. All right. Take another deep breath here and draw back in with me. You matter. Your frequency matters. What you do matters. We have to remember that right now. I'm seeing a lot of people getting swept up in drama and in fear. And I'm not here to tell you not to be well informed. I think you should be. I'm not here to tell you not to watch the news. I think you should, at least to some degree. But do not forget how powerful you are. Don't forget how much the world needs your light right now. Wherever you work or don't, whatever you do, you are constantly in consistency affecting the world around you. You are throwing your pebbles into the collective pond, and those pebbles ripple and they affect others, whether you know it or not, even whether you have direct contact with other people or not. Your light is making a difference, or it can make a difference wherever you go. We're all going to have moments, right? We're all going to have moments where we fall into some weird places, where we might fall into a little bit of fear. We might fall into some energy that maybe isn't where we want to unpack our bags and live, and that's fine. But don't ever think that your efforts don't matter. They do. Don't ever think that what you are doing isn't making a difference here on earth. It is, right? It is. Your frequency matters. I think it's something we really need to remember right now. It is tempting sometimes, I think, to join some of the collective energy. I don't know how to put that. The collective drama, I think. But, and sometimes we all will. And again, there's just no judgment there. But remember that you have the capacity to fly above that. You have the capacity to move over top of that energy. You don't have to be down in the midst of it. You have the capacity to raise your frequency above it, and you should. And how do you do that? Well, a singing bowl exercise like that sure doesn't hurt. But what else do you do? Well, anything that makes you feel amazing, right? It could be, perhaps it's singing, perhaps it's listening to music, perhaps it's going outside and getting some sunlight, perhaps it's laughter, perhaps it's studying or meditating or daydreaming. That's up to you. You know what makes you feel amazing. I don't have to tell you. You know. Those are the ways that you raise your frequency and you get above the collective. Because the collective energy lately has been a mosh pit, right? And not a good one. Is there a good one? Maybe. But be very aware of your vibration right now, what frequency you're bringing to the planet, not just for yourself, but for your family and for the collective. You can help raise it up. And a lot of people are. There's lots of great action right now. And I know you guys are a part of that. And I'm probably just singing to the choir here. But let's not forget how powerful it is to raise your frequency and how powerful it is to carry yourself in a place of light and in a place of peace so that you can offer that to the planet. We need you right now. I've been saying it for years, but man, I don't know if it ever could have been more powerful than it is right now. I know. Well, there's always a reason. But I wanted to talk about mediumship today because there are some things coming up for me that one thing is that I've heard from a lot of you guys lately that you've been feeling lonely for your past loved ones. You have been feeling them a lot, I think. Here's the thing. When you have someone who's passed and they're on your mind, please know that that's because you're on their mind. That's likely because they're spending a lot of time around you. They're likely recognizing your need right now for some extra love or some extra attention, and they're likely tapping you on the shoulder. And so as you are thinking about them, talk to them. There's nothing more exciting to somebody who's crossed than having somebody talking to them or sharing their stories. Just acknowledging their existence is a really powerful thing. So try to put yourself in both places. Yes, you have people that you've lost that you miss and you're thinking about, but I promise you, they're thinking about you too. And as you are feeling them and maybe missing them, it's likely because they are reaching out to you. When my mom died, one of the things that she told me was that she would only ever be a whisper away, which proved to be very accurate. They're never that far away, and they're very aware. They're tethered to you in a way that they are very aware of what you are doing, what's going on in your life, and they absolutely want to be here to help you. Something that no one ever taught us that we really need to know is that you have the agency to do what you want with your life. You do. You have a lot of help that's available to you should you choose to use it. And some of that help is on the other side. But there's not a whole lot they can do for you besides love you without your permission. But I can't tell you how many times we have put a mom or a dad or a grandma or a grandpa on a job, right? When somebody needed a little extra help for some reason. Perhaps they were manifesting a new partner or getting a new job or, needing some help with a really tough situation. I cannot tell you how many times a client and I have worked with somebody who's passed to get some guidance, yes, but also to give them permission to dive in and help. That's a really powerful thing that you can do. That is at your fingertips when you have people that have passed. Now, sometimes you have a very specific, a job that you go, this is for my dad for sure. Or, this is something I definitely want my grandma to look at or whatever. And that's fine. But I'll tell you what, they will get on that job. Just ask. But again, you have the agency to do what you want to with your life. And so they can't really dive in and interfere in your life without your permission. So if you would like their interference, please tell them so. Years ago, I had a client who had been widowed for a while and was really wanting to dip her toe into the dating world and was really apprehensive about it. Had tried a little bit and had, mostly just kissed a few frogs and they didn't turn into princes. And we were talking about that and about how much her late husband wanted her to find somebody, to enter into something that was good, not just find somebody, but to find somebody great. And we agreed that it would behoove us to ask him to help. And he was very willing to do that, to help find the right man to drive her way. I thought, who could be better, really, than a loving past husband who knows her, who loves her, who has her highest best interest in mind to help bring the right man into her world. And he did. He did through a series of interesting coincidences or synchronicities, however you want to classify that. She did have a wonderful man come into her world, and she always felt like he orchestrated that. He made that happen. I thought that was a beautiful and a lovely thing. I have a client and dear friend who her mother, pardon me, and I told the story on 1 2 News yesterday, so if you heard it once before, please forgive me, but I want to share it here as well. When she was 4, her dad beat her mother to death in front of her and her sister, and it was extremely traumatizing, and he went to prison, and she and her siblings went to live with grandma, and it was a terrible thing, of course. Well, she's an adult and a mom now, and told me once in a mediumship session, and her mom was she'd come in really clear in mediumship. But she said to me, one of my biggest regrets is that I don't remember her smile. I was too young when she died. I can't see her face in my mind's eye. I can't think of her smiling face. And I just so regret that I don't have that memory that I can fall back on. That's where this meditation that I'm offering tomorrow really was born, in the idea that perhaps I could take her to a place where she could see her mother smile, where she could feel her warmth and her love, where she could really have her own experience with her. And so we did the work together, and indeed, she had that experience, and she was able to come back into her waking self, really remembering her mother's face and her smile. Now, will everyone see things exactly the way she did? No, that's just not how this kind of work works. Some people will feel more than they see. Some people will hear more than they feel or see. Some people will see everything like they're watching on a television. I can't tell you how you will be. And in fact, every experience is different anyway. But for her, she finally got to see her mama's face. And that's a precious experience that I know she'll never forget and always has been able to carry with her, especially during hard times and times that she needed to call her mom in. So that's one to me that I have always just felt like was such a powerful experience for her and for me too. Pretty cool stuff. Uh, I wanted to talk a little bit about what mediumship is and what it isn't, because there has been some confusion. Thanks, I think, in part to things like, there's quite a few different reality shows on TV right now that are about mediums. And I think on one hand, I really love that because it brings more awareness to this field and normalizes it a little bit. On the other hand, there are some theatrics that I could do without. And here's why. There are some things about those shows that I think are very disingenuous to true mediumship. Every medium is different. They will experience things differently, but every spirit is different too. You have to realize that we are talking to a soul, a spirit. They have a personality and they have yeses and nos, and they're not performing monkeys that we get to pull in and demand information from. Not at all. And I always think it's interesting that in readings, sometimes people feel like that's kind of their right, is to demand information, right? I want to know this. I want you to tell me that. And sometimes I've had mediumship, spirits that go, no, I don't want to talk about that. I'm not telling you that. That's not why I'm here. Interesting things that I've always thought that was kind of fascinating, because we forget sometimes that, basic politeness still applies. And the way we speak to people the way we speak to people is very powerful, as well as those who have crossed over. And so one thing that I think is really important to remember about mediumship is they may not tell you exactly what you want to hear. They may not tell you exactly what you want to know. They're coming with an agenda. They haven't talked to you in a long time. There's things they want to say as well. So always bear that in mind with mediumship, whether you're talking to a medium or you're having your own experience. They're not performing monkeys. That's something that I feel like it really bears saying. The other thing that I'm going to tell you is that I would never in a million years offer mediumship to someone who didn't hire me to do so or ask me to do so. There's a reason for that, and it has nothing to do with work or money. It has everything to do with ethics. If I was in the grocery store buying dog food, or I was walking down the sidewalk eating a hot dog, and someone marched up to me and said, I have a message for you from your mother, I would be livid. Now, some people maybe wouldn't be. Maybe they wouldn't. But here's the thing. You don't read people without their permission. My field struggles enough with unethical people, right? We have to have an ethical code. We have to follow some rules here to some degree that are basic decency, I think basic privacy. And reading for people without their permission is, to me, an enormous violation of people's privacy. I wouldn't do that in a million years. And I get hits on people sometimes without looking. I don't necessarily want to. I don't want to look into the energy body of the girl that's ringing up my groceries. None of my business. Sometimes something will hit me, and maybe I will be a little more, tender than I would have been. Maybe I'll be a little bit more gentle. Not that I'm typically rude to people in stores. I hope I'm not. I'm not, I think. But, but I would never say to her, anything, because that's not my right. If people want work, they will seek it out. But just bombarding somebody with a message that they didn't request, to me, is extremely wrong. When I see things like that on TV, I really flinch, because I don't think it should be happening. Now, those are my opinions, right? You may see that differently, and that's okay. We all have the right to see things our way. We all have the right to our own opinions, but I think it's important to know that mediumship is very healing, it's very helpful, it's very useful, but it has its limitations. It's just really important to remember that. Terry says, I always get a kick out of people looking for certain kinds of advice from friends and family, like financial advice. If they weren't a financial genius in life, they are probably not in the afterlife. Truth. Yep. Yep. There's a lot of great advice to be sought. However, just because somebody has crossed over does not mean that they know everything. They don't. They don't. They can give you their thoughts about a situation, but they're not necessarily looking into the future. You know, they probably do know a few things you don't. However, don't assume that asking for advice from them versus, maybe a financial professional is a better option. Yeah, I think that's a super good point, actually, Terry. So, okay, I want to take a look at a few things here. So, yes, mediumship is definitely something that is it's a very interesting topic. And I'll tell you guys honestly, I never really wanted to be a medium. I guess I signed up for that at some point in some contract, but I was terrified as a kid of the things that I saw. I think Hollywood has scared the shit out of us when it comes to spirits. When I was in my 20s, I read a book by Sylvia Brown that said, you will see much scarier things on TV than you'll ever see in the afterlife. And I can't tell you how much that helped me because as a scared kid, I couldn't handle scary movies. I couldn't handle even scary music. I couldn't, because I'd had spirits around me my whole life and I didn't know how to process that or what to do with that. And so, yeah, it was very helpful for me that she said that. That to me is, it's true, right? It's true. So anyway, if you find yourself dealing with a little fear around working with the other side, I want you to know you will see much scarier things in movies and on TV than you will ever see in the afterlife. Promise. Now, there's two kinds of spirits. There's more than two, but the two that we focus on the most are those who have those who have actually crossed over and those that have not. Been talking to a friend of mine recently who years ago, she came into my store and I'd never met her before. Her friend brought her in. She was really, really struggling and she needed some immediate help. And her friend said, just whatever you can do to help. And so we sat down and we started a reading. And immediately I said, you have a male spirit attached to you, like hanging on for dear life. And as it happened, her son had committed suicide 3 days before. He hadn't crossed over. Why? Well, he was not really wanting to be gone. It was a decision that was fueled by substance abuse, and unfortunately, he regretted it the second it happened, and he was really holding on tight to his mom. Here's the thing. Because that was happening, she was feeling his fear, his panic, his pain, and and not only that, of course, she was feeling the grief and the shock of just losing her child. And that happens every once in a while. It is extremely rare. Please don't think that when people die, that's normal for that to happen. It's not. Most people just cross right over. Kelly McLean described it on a show once that she and I were doing together. She said, I see it kind of like a hallway, right? Like people slip out of their bodies, they walk down this hallway and they cross over to the other side where their families are waiting. And when people die, they don't take all of their pain and their fear-based emotions. That doesn't go with them. They take all of the knowledge they built. They take love. They don't take all of that heavy stuff. That stays here. We get to be the proud recipients of all of that stuff to clean up. That doesn't really exist once people have crossed over. Well, not everybody makes it all the way down the hallway for whatever reason. They might choose to not cross over for a myriad of reasons, and some that I think I understand and some that I probably don't. But if they don't, when you feel them, you will feel their fear, their panic, their pain, maybe their anger. That's how you know. And for spirits that haven't crossed over, sometimes they just need some help. They're sometimes extremely confused. They don't know what happened. They need somebody to help them. Sometimes it's a conscious choice to not cross over. I've seen that before, usually in people that have committed suicide and had beliefs in this lifetime that they couldn't cross over. Eventually they do, but I've seen that before where they think that they're in deep shit and they're afraid to go. Are they? Not in my experience. That's never been what I've seen as far as, working in mediumship, but it is something, and not just, suicide victims. I don't want to totally just, hammer on that, but I have seen it more often, I think, in those. But anyway, back to my client. So her son was holding very tightly to her out of his own fear. We were able in that session to help him to let go. We were able to help get some family members that had crossed to help him to cross over. Immediately, all of that additional pain and fear that she was carrying slipped away. She didn't need it anymore. It wasn't hers anyway, right? And it slipped away. And then she could focus on the job of grieving, which, that's a lifetime job when you lose a child. But that to me was one of those moments where we have to really remember what we're looking at here. But it's a good illustration of what happens when somebody crosses and they choose to, for some reason, not cross over. Luckily for him, it was just a few days. It was brief, and he did cross over and found his peace. But that's how you know the difference. People ask me that a lot. How do we know? Well, that's how we know. It's a very different feeling. And anybody who's worked in mediumship or experienced spirits will know what I'm talking about. There is an extremely peaceful energy around people who've crossed over, and people who haven't, not so much. Okay, I wanted to look into the chat room. Laura said, I had the most vivid dream of my dad the other night. I've been feeling so sad since. Does he have a message for me? He passed 16 years ago. Oh, Laura, let's tune into him. He said, don't be sad. He said, I want to spend more time coming through. I don't want to make her sad. Oh. Laura. He said, this makes me laugh. He said, he is so proud of what a good mom and grandmom you're going to be. Yeah. Okay. So he's bringing you some support. He's bringing you a lot of joy here. He says that you end up feeling like you're alone. Even with the people that you love, you feel quite lonely sometimes. He says that's a energy or a feeling that he can really resonate with. He felt like that when he was alive. Sometimes that he was just kind of alone out there. And so he said it's kind of a melancholy sadness, and he wants to be able to recognize in that in you to help support you in that. He says that he's been playing with your dog. He said sometimes out in the yard when she acts like she's not listening to you, she's been paying a little too much attention to him. So I made him promise that he'd be sure that he's safe and that he always directs her back to you. And of course he is. But I think she sees him, Laura. I feel like she's been having some fun with him, or he's been having some fun with her, actually. That's really sweet. So he wants you to know that he recognizes that feeling and that ache, and that he really just was coming in to tell you that he loves you and that he's proud of you, and that right now what he really wants to do is help to fill up that gap in your heart. So let's just ask him to, let's just let him, right? That's what he needs. That's what you need. That's what he wants to do. Yeah. I love that he's playing with Mika. That's funny. was an interesting thing he said too about that you are such a good mom and you'll be such a good grandmom. I'm not going to say anything else about that. I don't know. That's what he said. So I guess we'll see where that goes, huh? Okay. And yes, of course, you certainly will be. Absolutely. Julia said, loud and clear today. Had 3 separate pieces of intuition 2 days ago and discovered why my apartment is making me so sick. My new printer had turned its Wi-Fi back on by itself, but I still think I need a better place to live. If you're doing readings today, could you offer some insight, please? I agree with that, Julia. I feel like, honestly, and I know this is a big ask, but I feel like you would be so much better off not in an apartment. If it would be possible for you to rent a small house or even the upstairs or downstairs of a small house or, something that has less other people around. I really feel like your energy is just so sensitive to the point that really having so much emotional interference, the turmoil of other people's energetic bodies, as well as just all of their electronics and chaos. There we go. That's the right word. Chaos is overwhelming for you. And I think that really, if you're thinking about moving, I hope that it's in the cards for you to consider moving into a place that has fewer people piled on top of each other. I think that's really, really what your spirit needs. And lots of light always for you. Okay, you guys, you know what happened. We've talked down to the end of the show. Terry said yesterday was really rough, a really lonely day. She said she had such a headache she couldn't even handle texting with her granddaughter. Terry, I am so sorry. And I hope that today is a little better and that this week is better. The energy of this week is actually opening up and not quite as chaotic as it was last week. I'm hoping that makes a difference for everybody that's been feeling a lot of those headaches and stomach aches and pressure, that's opening up a little bit and letting go. Okay, well, truth, we have talked down to the end of the show. Don't forget that we do have our sanctuary sale going on over at One Two Listen, and that is from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific time, where we have greatly reduced rates. I have also been able to drop the prices of all of my time-based sessions for now back to, I think Mark said they were our 2014 rates. So awesome rates through at least the end of this month to be able to support you guys in every way we can. So lots of good stuff. And of course, come join me in my class tomorrow if that resonates with you. You can register over at 12academy.com. And you can find the coupon code in Luminous Magazine in my article there. And you can find Luminous at katie-weaver.com, or you can hit me up for the coupon code and I'll gladly turn it over for a 50% off coupon to come into that class. All right, guys, we have got to go. You have been listening to The Katie Weaver Show here on 1-2 Radio, where we're changing the way you listen to the world.